Hello and welcome to another What a Week That Was, the only debate that you can have on this channel directly with me about the news that's affecting, well, all of us. There's some good news, some bad news, some sad news and conflict news, shall we say. So what's been happening this week? Don't forget, you can join in the chat by just chatting on the chat line, and you can also, well, that's all you can do really, so do that. I am looking at some point in the future of doing Zoom calls and all that kind of gubbins, but that's a way off in the distance. So initially we're just going to do chatting. Now we've done a few of these and there's been quite a lot of stuff going on in the news this week, and I've just noticed something rather worryingly, and that is that there's no image for us to look at, which is never a good thing. So let's get an image in, shall we? It's turned into GBTV again, this. I think first off we'll go straight from Mazepin, the F1 driver. Now last week I said that I thought it was unfair that he'd lost his job as an F1 driver because of the Russian invasion. Turns out there's a little bit more going on than what I knew about, which I've since learnt, and you know what, fair enough. Yeah, it's just one of them things, isn't it? But Magnussen's back, and Magnussen is a fun driver, and I do like Magnussen, and he'd probably do better than he would have done anyway, but we'll have to wait and see. Hi Shinji. So yeah, so that's more of a update on last week, but this week has been a busy week for the news. We've had the sad passing of Linda Barron, age 82, who was most famous for playing Nurse Gladys Emanuel in Open Hours, and you watch it back now and you're thinking, my word, how did anyone allow the groping stuff that went on and the things that were said? But it was the 70s and 80s, things were different then, I suppose. Mazepin's been sacked because he was very friendly with certain people, shall we say, who we shall not go into at the moment for legal reasons. Anyway, yeah, so Linda Barron has passed away, and she also did that thing as well with what was the dog called, Pipkin or something or other, the TV kids show for kids with a TV and a show, and it was like a dog thing, Pipkins or something. I think the dog's long gone. Pippin, that was it, thank you. I think the dog's long gone, I'll be honest with you. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that one. Also, you may not have been aware of this, but there was a fire in a London flat. Thankfully, I don't think anyone was particularly injured or anything, and although the fire did develop quite substantially, the good news is that it didn't actually go a lot more devastating than another tragic fire that we had. So these are items that you've probably not seen this week. We've also had the Queen. She's back. Yabba dabba doo. There she is with not John Trudeau, President Trudeau of Canada, who was over in Britain, and the Queen, who's had COVID very recently, is well, just pleased to see someone who isn't, you know, like Charles or someone, I suppose. I don't know, allegedly. Who knows? Who knows? Nobody knows. Nobody knows the thing. Talking of COVID, cases are rising again. Now, who would have thought, now just bear with me here, who would have thought that completely removing all restrictions, including the one of if you find out you have COVID, then isolate, gone. So if you've got COVID, you can carry on doing what you normally do, without any masks, without any distancing, but you've got COVID. Who would have imagined that this has led to cases increasing in 2 weeks? I mean, seriously. Hospitals are getting a bit fuller. Okay, it's nothing like it was before, but I mean, this is the tip of the iceberg. It always takes between 2 to 4 weeks for things to escalate, and already it's a concern. There's 2 variants of COVID, and there are a lot of people who are not vaccinated for health reasons, who were very vulnerable and are staying at home, which is why I've kept the mask things at the shop, because it is ridiculous that people are allowed out who've knowingly got COVID. So I agree with getting rid of all restrictions, apart from isolation. If you find out you've got COVID, or if you suspect you have COVID, you get a free test. And masks in tight spaces, like buses and things like that. You could have someone with COVID coughing and spluttering on a bus and contaminating God knows how many people. It's an absolute, well, I mean, someone should have seen it coming, but obviously Boris didn't. What can you do? On a lighter note, a ship that was lost over 100 years ago has been found. Sadly, it's not in that condition anymore. That looks like a proper art picture, doesn't it? But it's not. It's the was it Ernest Shackleton's Endurance ship that got stuck in Antarctica and basically got crushed between the ice floes and eventually sunk. Everyone on board the ship escaped, although they stayed with the ship for a while, see if it would actually free itself. And it's been discovered. And surprisingly, it's in very, very good condition indeed. For bearing in mind it's been under the sea for 100 years or thereabouts. It's impressive that it's been found, and it is in such good nick. They're not going to raise it. They're not going to take anything from it. They're just going to, well, it's a secret location, and it's going to be a memorial to explorers, apparently. Even though, like I say, no one died on it because it got crushed very slowly and then sank. And the people managed to escape. So that was nice. That was a nice story. Also, as well, I don't watch EastEnders, but I actually caught an episode of EastEnders. And I'm known for a while that they've been building a new set for the price of £35 million at the Elstree Studios. But obviously, because I don't watch EastEnders, totally unaware of if they'd moved into the new set or anything like that. I remember doing it on Coronation Street. I remember them doing it with Emmerdale in the lockdown, classic Emmerdale. You basically, I don't know which lockdown one, I think it was lockdown one. I actually saw it being the original village, which is a real village with real people in there, where they used to film it. And then, like that, it was the new village. And no one batted an eyelid. And all the trees were like, you know, from a nursery. And now they're quite stubby. So I'm assuming that they used fast-growing trees. Anyway, digress. We're talking about this guy here. Him there, not them there. Them there. He decided to give us a guided tour of the new set. Because you can tell it was new because there were bits on it I've never seen before. For example, I mean, the police were very nice because he was trying to run away from the police, and the police were so bad, it was unbelievable. But he managed to run round the actual square bit with the new fence, which looked nice. He went down the side of a house that used to have a garage on it, but doesn't seem to have a garage anymore now. And there was a garden at the back of it. I'm like, oh, that's nice, but I'm sure that used to be a street back in the days. And then he ran along the railway thing and ended up on top of the pub, ended up in the pub and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, it was a guided tour of the new layout of the square, which I thought was really nice. I mean, you know, it's our taxpayer, well, not licence payers' money that's paid for this, so at least he could do is give us a guided tour. Sure, it was at night, although it was illuminated by the blue lights flashing in the police cars. Obviously, they weren't real police cars because it's acting. It's not real, but don't tell anyone, because I think a lot of people think it is, but it's not. Sadly, one thing that is real. Here we go. Putin and his incredibly long tables. And literally, there's no words to describe Vladimir Putin at the moment. I mean, literally none. Where do you begin? It beggars belief. This week, we've seen a bombing of a hospital, a children's hospital, with pregnant ladies in and stuff like that. We've seen absolute bombardments of cities, completely obliterated. I keep making references to Aleppo. And it is. It's very similar to Aleppo. It's absolutely disgusting what he's doing. A lot of the Europeans have gone over to Ukraine, and Americans as well, I suppose, to fight for the Ukrainians. So now, today, Putin has basically agreed that it'd be a good idea to get some volunteers that he doesn't have to pay for himself to come and fight for him. And maybe they might be able to make some progress, because his army is making absolutely zero progress, other than completely flattening everywhere and just scaring people away. I mean, what's the point of domineering a country and getting a country when you have to spend billions of rubles to fix the thing because you broke it, as well as losing trust of anyone on the planet, except for the loonies. Hello, a lot of people, a lot of armies in Syria, and some African fighters have said they want to come over as well and fight for the Russians. I'm like, whoa, do you not see the news? Do you not see how popular that would be? I beggars belief. And then he's come up with this thought that it's the Ukrainians with American help who are doing chemical weapons, developing chemical weapons. And we're like, oh, hang on a minute, let's see. Who's used chemical weapons in the last 10 years? Oh, hang on a minute. It's you, Mr. Putin. No one else. So, absolute... Oh, well, I think it's just an excuse for him to actually say, you know what, they've got the chemical weapons, so I'm going to use mine first, because it's defence, even though you're attacking the country. But this is how minds work at the moment. It's just scary. It really is scary. And then you've got Abramovich, the Chelsea Football Club. Now, it turns out Abramovich, very pally with Putin, even more pally than Mazepin. He's basically been railroaded by Putin to try and become a mayor and a politician, but didn't actually come through, and then become a multi-millionaire, and bought Chelsea Football Club, and to be fair, has done very well with Chelsea Football Club. As we reported last week, he's upped off. He's decided to move control for the club from himself to this charity thing that no one had ever heard of. And then he decided to put the thing up for sale. Didn't sell it in time, because now all his assets have been frozen, which include Chelsea Football Club. So basically, Chelsea, as what I can make out from the news, they cannot access their bank account. They cannot sell tickets or merchandise. Basically, they are technically broke. They have no money and no access to money whatsoever. So I don't know how that's going to pan out. But again, for someone who supports Putin, I think it's a just thing to do. The people I feel sorry for are the Chelsea fans, because their club could maybe end up very similar to Wigan Athletic when it was bought by the China conglomerate, which basically ran it into the ground. So it'd be interesting to see how this story pans out. Roman's gran is from Ukraine. Oh. Well, maybe we should give him Chelsea back then, so he can pay for her care. That'd be nice. But yeah, it's there's no logic to anyone wanting to support a warmonger and basically dictator now. I mean, we've kind of laughed at him for a long while, Putin, saying he's a dictator, and even though he's been elected, but he's done it for considerably longer than he should have done, and now he's trying to, as I said last week, he's trying to get his legacy in place, where, you know, in years to come, when he's long gone, there'll be statues everywhere and pictures of him everywhere because he was such a hero and did so well for Russia. Whereas it seems that most people in Russia that you see on the telly, not that you see many of them now, are protesting and really not liking him very much because it's making the whole country look really bad. So, yeah, well done, Vladimir. You are a hero, and you're a bully. But not as big a bully. Well, actually, yeah. Much bigger bully. John Bercow. Used to be the Speaker of the House of Commons. And has been accused and banned for life from entering the House of Parliament at all. For life. For bullying and being basically an absolute twonk. Male, female employees and other people he's bullied. I mean, that was his job, wasn't it? He was the Speaker of the House of Commons. You have to bully people in that job, particularly politicians who were screaming and shouting at each other. But apparently he took it too far and carried it on outside. And when he's been interviewed on TV shows since he left the job, he has come across as a complete swine, like someone you would not want to spend any time with whatsoever. Anyway, it turns out I was right in my judgment. The guy's an absolute end of the thing that's inside the Queen Elizabeth Tower, the big one. So yeah, he's got caught out and he's been banned for life for going in the Houses of Parliament. Talking of banning for life, there's a Russian athlete who probably should be banned for life. Now I'm very confused about this. I did write his name down, but then I lost a piece of paper I wrote his name down on. But he's a Russian gymnast, 20 years old, and if you look closely, you can see that he's got where are we? He's got on the middle of his chest there, you can just about see a little Z, like that. And that is the symbol, for some reason that I'm unsure about, that the Russians have been painting on the tanks who are invading Ukraine. And this young guy here has decided that he's going to put a white Z on his white t-shirt whilst he's getting presented a medal at the weekend for coming third, i.e. bronze, in some gymnastic tournaments. And you're like, you can't do that. And then I'm thinking, hang on a minute, the Paralympians, Russian Paralympians, are not allowed to compete at the Paralympics. So why is this guy, in the Russian gear, allowed to participate in sport somewhere else in the world? How does that work? Especially when he's obviously such a complete idiot. It makes no sense as to how come he is allowed to... Look at his smug face, you just want to... I'm not a violent man, Mr. Faulty. Yes, you are, yes, you are. But how is he allowed to compete when every other Russian athlete and sports person and football team and all that kind of stuff can't compete? It does not compute. And then he does that, which just makes him look even more of a idiot. Neil said a rude word then, but I don't like making rude words, so I won't. Maybe he should volunteer for the Russian army, I don't know. That might be good. But not everyone's bad and evil in this conflict. Some people are actually really good. And the president of Ukraine addressed the House of Commons, and I need to make that picture bigger, I'll be honest with you, because if you look carefully, you can see that not only is it... Oh, wrong way. Where's Boris? Where's Boris? Where's Boris? There he is. There's Boris. Oh, wrong way. Right, there's Boris. So we've got Boris there. And then you've got a few people in the seats. And then these guys here, they're all sat on the steps. There's actually a gap there for people to go in and out of. You can see that with this wood which goes across. That's how popular the Ukraine, president is. And I'm like, why can't we have leaders in the West like this guy? Because this guy is... Oh, he's just fantastic. And, you know, he kept everyone enthralled. We can't do... Everyone's asking in Ukraine for us to do the... Got beat to goal by Ukraine. Yeah, he did, actually. Going back to the gymnast guy got beat. Ukraine won the thing, which was somewhat fitting, I suppose. Anyway, the Ukraine president, as well as many of the people, are saying we need a no-fly zone over Ukraine. Now, Ukraine is huge. When you see it on the maps, it doesn't look that big. It's a bit like Turkey. I always thought Turkey was about the size of a field that you keep turkeys in. It's not. It's massive. And Ukraine is very similar. It is much bigger than you think it is. So to have a no-fly zone over there would mean aeroplanes from other countries, i.e. NATO and maybe Poland and a few other countries, flying around over there and making sure no other aeroplanes go in. But of course, the Russian aeroplanes would go in. So the Russian aeroplanes go in because they ignore the rules, and that then poses, well, what do we do? What do the Ukraine representing pilots do who are actually from other countries? And if they shoot down a Russian aeroplane of any kind, technically that is an act of war, even though technically it's not, because we're defending someone, but we're defending someone who isn't part of NATO or even the EU. That's when world wars basically start. But then you're thinking, well, hang on a minute, we've got the Syrians wanted to come and join the Russians. You've got this South African soldiers wanted to come and join the Russians. And then you've got loads of people from Britain and various other places around the world joining the Ukraine. So technically we've got a world war already, or we will have, but it's all contained within Ukraine. None of this is perfect. None of this is good. I don't think we necessarily will end up being nuked anytime soon. But if we do a no-fly zone and then we shoot down a Russian plane for any reason whatsoever of it violating this no-fly zone, then Putin, who's already a bit highly strung, shall we say, I'm being polite there. I don't know why I'm being polite. That guy's an absolute bell. But he's going to lose it, and then it's all going to kick off, and before you know it, it is a world war which will just spread across Europe. The problem we've got is that Russia's got a lot of troops, and they're not all in Ukraine. So they could quite easily send a lot of troops to Poland and then try and move across. Now, let's be honest, the Ukrainian army is tiny compared to the Russian army and compared to the number of Russian soldiers who've been shoved into Ukraine. But what they didn't bet on was the population of Ukraine also kind of joining up and making all these, I'll be honest, feeble Molotov cocktails. I don't think a Molotov cocktail would stop a tank. That said, they are Russian tanks, so yeah, maybe they would. And there have been reports of Russian convoys being shot to pieces because their armour on their vehicles is not thick enough to stop bullets that even Ukraine have. So is the Russian army really that good? Are they really that strong to be able to take over somewhere? Or are they basically an army from the 1970s who think they're the army of the future and are going in there and completely misreading what is going on, but doing what they're told because Putin basically would shoot them if they didn't. It's such a horrible thing to be. I mean, like I said last week, and I said it in the paper this week as well, in the article I wrote, it's one of them things, isn't it, where for some reason this conflict has galvanised the world against one person, whereas we've had other conflicts in very recent memory where we're all like, oh, it's a shame, innit? Yeah, you know, like Sudan, Yemen, that kind of thing, but done nothing. Like I said last week, I think, you know, I would never ever have thought of allowing a refugee to stay in my house, but I've seriously considered letting a Ukraine family stay in my house, and I'm like, why? Is this because they're more relatable? You know, am I being a little bit racist by not thinking about this before? Or is it because we've seen, like, on the TV news, particularly in Germany, and I think in Poland as well, trains full of refugees from Ukraine pulling up to railway stations, or people coming off aeroplanes, and there are people stood there, you know, like when you order a taxi and it's got your name misspelt because you're in, I don't know, Turkey, and they've spelt your name wrong, but you'd know it's for you. And they're holding up these boards, and they basically say, you know, one family, two families, whatever, on these boards, and then they're just taking people and giving them shelter and giving them food and giving them warmth. And I don't understand why that's not happened other times. As I've said many times before, and I'll probably say again, maybe even next week, a lot of the reasons we've got refugees and migrants coming from, well, yeah, I'll chuck Syria in there, but Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, all them kind of things, is because basically Bush and Blair just went in and destroyed their entire culture and their leadership and everything, which had worked for thousands of years, because either A, they wanted the oil, B, they just wanted the oil, or C, they wanted the oil with a government that would give them the oil at a better price. I'm not saying any of that's true, but that's what it felt like. And the worrying thing is that we're now paying the price of that some 15 years later, because the whole country, all them countries, have just gone to pot. They're all... The leadership and everything that they had, which we thought was brutal, worked for them. And now they haven't got that. It's just kicking off all the time, and it's not good. Oh, hiya, FN fan 1. Hope you're good. So yeah, it's a difficult one. But then you have a leader come along, like the Ukraine president, you know, who's done things like voiced Paddington in Ukraine, because he's an actor and a comedian. And now he's a war hero, in my opinion. He's so well spoken. He puts his point across, but sadly, we can't. Well, can we help him? Should we help him? It's so tricky. It's so tricky to actually decide what we're supposed to do, because nobody can say what is right and what is wrong, and that's what's worrying. We have got to the stage now where the world is just going. Just realised I haven't got yellow on here, so I've got yellow and blue now. The world is going to pot, and we're doing nothing about it. But if we do something about it, will that make it worse? How do you... I don't know. Anyway, let's go back to something a bit more upbeat, shall we? Is there anything I missed out yet? Let's have a look. Oh, it's not upbeat though. Oh God. Right, this is the Northern Ireland Assembly today, and they held a silence after apologising for the horrendous treatment for decades of children in care, often in Catholic-run orphanages and children's homes, etc. There was sexual, physical, emotional abuse rife going on, and rightly so. The survivors of this have wanted action taken against people, and at the very least an apology. And finally, today, the Northern Irish government have apologised. However, it wasn't just Northern Ireland that had this problem. It was also the Republic of Ireland as well. And we've all probably seen, if you're of a certain age anyway, you'll have definitely seen that walled garden at that convent, where they say there are hundreds, if not more, buried fetuses and babies that were just systematically killed by the nuns for being born out of wedlock. It just defies. It's just horrendous, And yeah, we should look back at these things and we should say, you know, it was wrong and something should have been done before and all this kind of stuff. But I always say we should be looking at what's going on now. I mean, again, you've got all these refugees coming over. How do we know everyone holding up a piece of paper at the railway station saying, you know, one family, whatever? Bear in mind that most of the families coming over are women and small children, because the men are not allowed to leave Ukraine because they're expected to fight to save their country. So they've been kind of drafted, so they have to stay, Dad's Army style, and save the country. So it's all the women. And how do we not know that, you know, the sex traffickers are not taking advantage of the situation? So yeah, we should look back and apologise for things that happened in the past. It doesn't hurt to say sorry, even if you weren't directly involved. If it helps someone who survived something, then say sorry. But we should be looking at what's going on now. Maybe not then, though, because that was just a bit weird. Anyway, we're not sponsored by anyone, by the way. This is a completely free thing. Anyway, that kind of spoiled the moment, didn't it? I do apologise. That was quite serious as well. Did I mention COVID? I think I did mention COVID. But what I forgot to mention was that there's been 6 million deaths worldwide from COVID now. And long COVID, even on people who've only had a small amount of COVID or light symptoms and all that, on test has reduced the size of the brains by up to 2%. Now, I know many people who, if their brain is reduced by the size of up to 2%, would mean they'd be, I don't know. Yeah. And they've also got brain injuries from it as well, which includes permanent smell, memory loss, and hard to compensate things I've written. Don't know what that means. Calculate things, maybe. I don't know. But basically, yeah, if you've had COVID, even mild symptoms, there is a possibility that you're going to have some very sad long-term effects. Now, they have said that the brains that shrunk by up to 2% can repair themselves because your brain, would appear, is able to regenerate, a bit like the Doctor, only you wouldn't want like your head glowing and fire coming out your ears or anything while it does it, and then come back with a completely different personality. Or maybe you would, I don't know. But yeah, it's a lot more serious than what we thought, and we are now finding out that it is becoming rife again, particularly in Scotland, which I must admit still have the mass thing going on. But it's all over the country, and hospital admissions are going up. Admitted there's not as many people in intensive care, but there never is when a wave starts. What happens is someone catches it, doesn't realise they've got it because they've been vaccinated, although it now turns out the vaccinations are wearing off, so everyone needs another jab coming up in the next couple of months. So you catch it, you give it someone else, they don't know they've got it for a week or two, then they may get symptoms. A couple of weeks after that, they may end up in hospital. A couple of weeks after that, they may end up in intensive care. Now, these new variants that they've got, they reckon could be serious, particularly if you had the vaccinations earlier, because your immune system is weaker now because you've not had it, or obviously if you've not been vaccinated, not all the vaccinations, or you have other medical conditions, maybe like asthma or something similar. So it's starting again, but on a smaller scale. But we need to live with it, yes, but we need to keep simple things. For example, if you've got COVID and you find out you've got COVID, then you must stay at home. Not spread it, not get on a bus, not go anywhere, particularly if you're not wearing a mask. I mean, that is tantamount to me as equivalent of manslaughter. If you're going around spreading a deadly virus, which can, buses are full of people who are vulnerable, the elderly, etc., and you're coughing and spluttering there, and you know you've got COVID, then I think you're comparable for anything that happens to any of those people on that bus. So bring back the masks on buses, in shops, in confined spaces, offices, that kind of thing. How many times have we seen the news where, even in corridors, all the nurses and doctors and everything are still wearing masks. Of course they are. They're not stupid. They don't listen to Boris. They listen to the experts. So that's my hashtag. Hashtag, don't listen to Boris. Listen to the experts. Okay, forget social distancing, but wear a mask in confined spaces. If you get COVID, stay at home. Simple. And hopefully we can quash this from, going bad again. We've had a few people join. So Angela O'Kane, I think Ifian Finnan has gone. It was a kind of pop in and pop out. On a lighter note this week as well, which I probably mentioned in my vlog, I'm assuming it was for a joke or something, or a meme. I'm probably a meme now. But someone asked, some teenagers come in and asked for a selfie with me because they watch my YouTube channel. I'm like, oh. Right, okay, then I don't believe a word of this, but let's go for it. And then I was expecting myself to pop up everywhere all over Facebook, but sadly not. Or happily not. Although any publicity is good publicity, that's what they say, isn't it? So what will we discuss then tonight? Although you've all been very quiet, and I like it. I prefer it when you're actually talking. The sad demise of Linda Barron, aka Nurse Gladys Emmanuel, passed away this week at the age of 82. Thankfully, the Queen has fully recovered from her COVID, and she met Justin Trudeau. What a treat that is. The lost Antarctic ship, the Endurance, has been found in remarkably good condition. It did remind me a little bit with the imaging and everything of the Titanic, only obviously it's in HD now rather than cinefilm camera that they've had when they found the Titanic. But that was good. Then we had good old Vladimir Putin, who says that it's a good idea for him to get volunteers to fight for the Russian army in Ukraine because he doesn't have to pay them. We've also found out that John Bercow is an evil, nasty bully and has been banned from the Houses of Parliament for life. And that there's a nasty, childlike Russian, he's 20 to be fair, who had the Z on his chest, you can just see it there in the white, at a medal presentation last weekend in Qatar, or Doha, wherever it was. But the main question for me is, was he allowed to compete in anything when no other athletes are, including the Paralympians, which I'm pretty sure have got nothing to do with the invasion of Korea. You heard it here first. The invasion of Ukraine. And then, of course, we had Putin bizarrely accusing Ukraine and America of developing chemical weapons. I mean, yeah. We also had the amazing sight of the fullest House of Commons ever. They're even sat on the steps in between the rows of seats to listen to, via satellite obviously, the President of Ukraine address the House of Commons. Apparently it's the first time ever that's happened where a leader has directly addressed the House of Commons. We also found out that Roman Ivanovic has basically got a football club that's worth less than your local non-league one now. All assets have been frozen. Can't buy, sell tickets, buy, sell players. Basically can't do anything with it. So yeah, interesting to see what pans out with that one. Can't even sell it now. Although I've got 50p in my pocket, which I think is about 5 billion rubles. So I might put an offer in, you never know. We also got a guided tour this week of the new Eastenders set, courtesy of this guy, who was apparently on the run from the police, who were completely useless. I mean, you know, he's in a house, and he then appears at the other side of the thing, other side of the square, but showing us around, showing us all the little new places that they've got, which is nice. And bear in mind as well that Coronation Street announced this week that they are building a new extra bit of the set, which is going to be a precinct. They've always referred to the precinct But it's a bit ironic that they're deciding to build a precinct when, let's be honest, all the shops are going to be empty, because that's what most precincts look like nowadays. So all that money, and then get no traders in there. I might put an offer in, actually. I might put an offer in, see if I can move my shop there. Won't be ready for a couple of years, so that might work out well. Yeah, I like the idea of that. And then good old COVID has come back. Whoop whoop. There's record levels in Scotland of COVID cases. Although we're not getting the huge amount of people going into hospital yet, but like I've already explained, it always takes, you go in 2-week cycles for it. So how many weeks ago is it since we got rid of the restrictions? Getting on for about 4 weeks, so we expect people to go in hospital now, and I expect that to get worse because there are people knowingly now walking around without masks on, who know they've got COVID, spreading it everywhere. And like I said, I think they should be culpable for any deaths that basically ensue from that. If you know you've got COVID and you're walking around without a mask on, I mean, if you have to walk around because Boris says you can, then at least wear a mask. Show some decency, at least make an effort. And that was it, I think. Oh no, the apology as well for the child abuse in Northern Ireland, which was long overdue as well. So some serious stuff, some not so serious stuff, but mainly serious stuff. It's been a week, that week, and you're not talking, or if you are, you're talking very quietly. So you either completely agree with everything I said, which makes you a bit weird. Have you heard what I say? Or you think I'm so wrong that you can't be bothered talking to me. So yeah, I'll go with that as well. So we shall leave it there then. I've been on for 40 minutes. Normally do about half an hour, so we've gone a bit longer than normal. But there was a lot to get through today, I'll be honest with you. So don't forget to like, share, subscribe, etc. Well, that's the point. Shall we have villain of the week? I mean, Vladimir Putin's obvious, isn't he? John Bercow is pretty obvious as well. But I think I'm going to put villain of the week, the Russian athlete, because his smug face and his little Z on his little chest. I say little chest. I'd kill for a body like that. Well, not literally kill for a body like that. That'd just be weird. Plus, I'm like considerably older than that, so if I had a body like that, I'd just look weird. This old fat head. Well, this has got silly now. But anyway, yeah, villain of the week. Well, that guy. Yeah, just not nice. Anyway, that's it for what a week that was for this week. And I'll see you all again next week to see what a week that was. Next week, what a week that was. And this was what a week that was for this week. Well, last week. So it's not this week, next week. So yeah. Anyway, thank you very much, Sean, Toff, and Angela. You're the only talkers today that I could see, which is very sad. I do like it when people talk. But we'll leave it there. Yeah, they've even turned off the camera behind me. Oh, there we go. So thanks for watching. Till next week, when we discuss what a week that was. Goodbye.